And it's a protege, eh? Yeah. Chronics are where you say, eh?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I just go where the trade wind blows, sending love to my friends and foes. And I suppose I'm pleased to be chilling in the West Indies. Jah provide all my wants and needs. I got the sunshine, rivers and trees, green leaves. Wait, hey.
When me see Jah, me see a way. Drastically straight from hypocrisy, I say, hey. Every man to them own a philosophy. I live the proper way and then me read a chapter daily. Man, they in a city hungry and no eat. And food they down a country does a drop off of the tree then. You see say poverty no real then, is what the reason revealing.
Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? I just go where the trade wind blows, sending love to my friends and foes. And I suppose I'm pleased to be chilling in the West Indies.
This is my 2023 race bike. It is a Pivot Phoenix frame set up with a single crown and trail gearing. The reason I'm on a Pivot Phoenix frame with a single crown is because the past owner was racing the EWS on it, and he liked the geometry a lot more of the downhill bike over the enduro bikes, because the downhill bikes are a lot shorter and a lot slacker. The head tube angle on this one right now is about 61.5 to 62, depending. Once I put the air spring in there, it should be about 61 most of the time. And maybe just for insanity, get a slackener headset to go the extra mile. This frame also is, it's got a really long wheelbase. It might be 1,295 millimeters. I'm not sure off the top of my head. It's a lot longer than most enduro bikes. The suspension on this bike is the RockShox Zeb up front. The past owner of this bike set up most of the parts on this bike because I actually won this off of his Instagram giveaway a year ago today. And he put the Zeb on over the Boxer that came on it because it was lighter and apparently has better small bump compliance. I've been enjoying the Zeb for downhill racing and had no issues with it so far, besides that it really needs to be serviced. I'll be picking up some seals soon. Another cool feature about this frame is that it has engineered compliance. Most pivot frames don't come with this. It's in the form of 5 cracks throughout the bike to reduce bumps and reduce felt feedback. There's a nice big one in the bottom bracket that could end with the bottom bracket falling out eventually, but that's whatever, you know, fuck it, I'll be fine. It makes for a good race bike. The rear coil is a RockShox Super Deluxe with a Springdex coil rate adjuster, which is really sick because, say for jumping, I can crank the spring weight up, get the whole rear end stiff in a nice linear fashion, and then for the tech I can crank it down. It also has a Vorsprung Tactive tune, so it should be more supple off the top than a regular RockShox Super Deluxe, which I'm not entirely sure about, but the rear end of this bike is supple and this thing does plow. The drive terrain is an XX1 Axis, which sadly has shit the bed and will need to get replaced. I'm gonna have to get a new rear derailleur. The cage is shot on that, the clutch is shot on that, and the body is shot on that. But when it was working, it was a great gear set. The batteries barely ever need to be charged. You can go a really long time. The range is great. The 52 tooth cassette makes it so I can just sit down and climb up anything. Up front there's 165 GX cranks because this bike was really low when it started off with, and then putting trail gearing and trail stuff on there, you just need to pedal more, so you get a lot of pedal strikes. So if the 165 cranks, it helps out a little bit. Shout out to the sponsor this year, Pedaling Innovations, for sending a pair of pedals. They've been great for trail riding. You can really put down a lot of power. They're about 1.5 times the size of a pair of normal pedals, It's weird to get used to, but once you're on it, everything just feels really stable and planted. The rear rim I'll be running for next year is probably a race face turbine. I actually cracked it and got it warranted, so there's a new one sitting in my basement that needs to be set up. Right now there is a DT Swiss 511 Freeride rim on there, which is holding up fine. This one actually blew up in a cross-country race and I rebuilt it. Don't know how you blow up a rim in a cross-country race, but I guess it happens. I've always ran Cushcore front and rear. No Cushcore in the front right now because I blew up the front rim riding and just fixed that. So there will be a Zip 30 Moto front rim on there with any tires I can get. Both of these tires were $10 a piece. I just buy whatever cheap ass tires people will sell me, or whatever downhill casing tires people will sell me. Maybe I'll splurge and buy new tires this year. The brakes are SRAM Code RSC. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I bled them, put on new pads, and they seem to work fine, so they'll probably be staying there. I would love to swap over to TRPs or Magoras sometime, but if it works, it works, and it's what I'm used to. As I said previously, the RockShox Axis dropper post that was on here shit the bed. The C-clip and the battery started having issues, and I think there's electrical issues inside of it or something wild. The downside to that is that it managed to, whenever I'd use it, it was shooting the cartridge right into the frame down here, so there's a dent inside of the carbon frame on top of all the other damage inside of the frame. But right now we're just running a fixed seat post with a Devox, pretty much BMX size seat. The bars are 760, fairly narrow. The narrow bars actually feel great. When I first got this bike, I was planning on changing them out to wider bars. However, the narrow bars just seem to feel a lot better, you know. And I had a bad shoulder injury this year that I'm still dealing with. I can't ride bikes with fat bars. It just pushes my shoulder out of the back, but I can still ride bikes with skinnier bars. Got the rev grips on here. They helped out a lot with arm pumps so far. Had them on my hardtail, would do days at the bike park and never get arm pumps, so it's pretty much the only grips I run anymore. They're expensive, but I got this pair for $20 off Facebook Marketplace, I think. The stem is a SRAM Descendant 50mm. The previous owner of this bike in his bike check said if you ran too short, there wouldn't be enough weight over the front wheel, and that this was the sweet spot, so I'm just going to trust his judgment and stick with this stem. It seemed to be fine. I mean, a stem's a stem. It hasn't fallen apart. It hasn't fallen off the bike and looks good. The best modifications I have done so far, in all honesty, are all these great stickers. The stickers make me the rider I am today. They keep me up to speed and make sure that I stay safe when I ride. I got to keep the Yeti sticker on there so people think the bike's a Yeti. We got the guitar pick for when you want to play guitar randomly on the side of the trail. That's a sticker for Gore Mountain. Never been there, but you know, it covers the pivot sticker, and I'd hate for people to know that I'm riding on a pivot. Oh yeah, and this bike actually surprisingly pedals great for what it is, for being a downhill bike. I raced a bunch of cross-country races on it at the start of the year, and with the Dave Weigel linkage and no lockout in the rear, the bike pedaled fine, and I'd get done mid-pack of the races against everybody else on their cross-country bikes. Even tried reverse mullet for a race, but that was very much not the play. Do not try reverse mullet. Well, the 2022 season surely was something. What it was, I don't know. But here we are.